Welcome back to the Teach the Children Homeschool Resource Center podcast. This is episode 3, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about where to even get started. So I see this question posted a lot on the Facebook homeschool pages. I just get this question asked a lot to me. I hear that people are asking this question a lot, and they're like, how do you even get started? Where do you know? Like, where do you go? Who do you know? Like, how do you do this? And I can tell you, I was very intimidated when I first started. My kids are hopping in the window outside the door, and who knows what they want. But I was very intimidated when I first started this journey. So we started back in the fall of 2020. You guys all know what was going on in the world then. My son had just finished kindergarten, and we were looking at, like, what do we do? The public schools didn't really have a plan because no one had a plan. No one knew what they were doing. And my daughter could have gone to kindergarten that fall. And so we were like, well, do we put them both in? What do we do? And so I told my husband, how about we try the local parent partnership program here in town? And if it doesn't go well, we'll just return them to public school. And he was like, well, how do you even get started? And I'm like, I have no idea, but there's this like link here and you just sign up and we just do it. And we went about it. And that first year, I wish I could go back to myself 5 years ago and be like, just take a deep breath and have fun with your kids. But I learned a lot. And so here I am today going to pass on some of this information to you. Well, so then in 2023, I think we went completely independent. I'm trying to think my years through here. So that's another big step and a big change and requires some paperwork. So what I'm going to today talk to you about is that independent portion. Like, how do you go independent? Because let me tell you, I told my friends I will never, never go independent. I will always be hooked up to the PPPs, the parent partnership programs. They're great. There was nothing wrong with them. I liked status quo. And then one day I just was like, I just felt God was saying very strongly in our hearts, get them out. It's time for you to go independent. And I was like, I'm good. And God was like, no. And I was like, no, really, I'm good. And after a few months of toiling around, I was very convicted to get them out. And so we did. And it was scary, but we got through it. And now I don't know if I would go back. I mean, I would if God told me to have him go back. But we just love being independent. We love having our own schedule, doing our own thing. I have seen so much growth in my children through it all. So get to what point? I'm going to talk to you about how you can get started because it's really quite simple. It may seem scary, but it's not. So the first thing you need to understand, I'm going to go off my notes here too, just to make sure I don't say anything incorrectly, which I'm sure I will. And if I do, put it in the YouTube comments, send me an email. I'll come back on here, say I messed up and we'll fix it going forward. But that's the point of these podcasts and all this stuff is just to get information out to you guys. And I have no problem saying, hey, I misspoke. You actually need to do this. Okay, so the first thing you need to understand is that compulsory attendance in the state of Washington is from 8 years of age to 18. So if you want to homeschool your 5, 6, or 7-year-old, you can, but you don't have to do any paperwork. You are legally, or how do you say it, academically free from any legal laws in the state of Washington. So you don't have to tell anybody you're homeschooling. You don't even have to sign them up to do anything. You can just hang out with your kids. Now, I'm not saying don't do anything. I'm just saying you don't have to do any paperwork. And actually, we would prefer if you don't do a declaration of intent, the DOIs, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute, until they turn 8. Don't report them in any earlier because it's going to feed the fire in the state and say, hey, well, all these other kids are reporting in. Now we should make it the requirement to make people tell us they're going to homeschool their kids earlier. Don't do that. Wait till they're 8. That is the biggest blessing in Washington, is that we don't have to report our kids to the state for homeschooling until they're 8. Again, I hear the comments on the side saying, we don't co-parent. You're right. We don't co-parent with the government, but follow the rules and it keeps everybody happy. And then we don't have other rules put on us like some of the other states. So 8 to 18, start. That's your compulsory attendance age. Okay. The first thing you need to do is submit your Declaration of Independence. Oh my gosh, guys. Declaration of Intent. So beginning on your child's 8th birthday, you can fill out this piece of paper, this form. You can find it on the Washington Homeschool Organization's website. I will link it in either the show notes or somehow on this podcast. I'll figure out how to do that. And you fill that paperwork out. And then you turn it in to your superintendent of your boundary school. So our boundary school district is Richland School District. Not your boundary school, but your boundary school district. So we're Richland School District. I fill out the form. I submit it into the superintendent. They say received, and I am good for that school year. So I did mine on September 15th of 2024 for the 24-25 school year. I will fill it out again September 15th of 2025 for this next school year. And you only fill it out for kids in your house who are over the age of 8 and under the age of 18. Now, the only thing that is required on that form is your child's name, age, and your name and your address. That's it. So a lot of the other school districts like to put in all this extra information, and they may even say, oh no, it's required by law that you have to give us all this information. No, it's not. Age of your child's name, your name, and your address. That's it. Don't give them anything else. That's because this is especially important if down the road you want to get your kid into like running start or maybe even re-enroll them down the road for any such reason, for whatever happens, then they're tied to a grade because the public school says you can only do one grade a year. You can't do more. And as homeschoolers, no, you can do lots of grades in a year because you can get ahead. So just put on the age. That way, if your child is really far ahead and you need to re-enroll them for any reason, they can test in, or you can prove that they are, I don't know if you have to test, but you can prove that they're at a specific grade, even if they're younger than that age, or vice versa. If your child's behind and you need to re-enroll them for some reason, it just works in your favor if you don't give them any more information than what is required by law. So then you need to take that DOI into your superintendent's office. You can walk it in, you can mail it in. This last year, I emailed mine in. I didn't want to confront anybody. I didn't want to have to take time out of my day and pack up the car and go in. So I emailed it in, and they sent me back an email that just said received. And so I just filed that in my email folders and kind of done. Some people will mail it in and include a self-addressed stamped envelope and ask them to make a copy and mail it back. If you go in and you turn it in, get a copy and have them, give them your copy, ask them to make a copy and give it back to you just for your records, just so that all your bases are covered. So once you do your DOI, you are good to go on that. So now you can legally homeschool your child. So then the next thing you need to do, the next part is you need to qualify to homeschool. And there's a few ways you can qualify as a parent. You can have 45 college credits, which accounts to, I think, 1 year of college, 1 year doing college. You can take a parent qualifying course, and Washington Homeschool Organization offers these parent qualifying courses. Go out to the website. I think they have one coming up here soon. I'm pretty sure. Take it, then you're qualified. Just take it once. You can hire a teacher to supervise you. Let's say you have a family member that's totally on board and they're keeping their teaching credentials for whatever reason. They can supervise you, or your husband or your spouse or whoever has that, they can qualify. Or, and I've only heard of this happening a few times, you can gain superintendent approval. So Let's say you're transferring in from another state. You met the requirements in that other state, but for whatever reason, they don't match up with this state. You still want to homeschool. You can go down into, again, your boundary school district, ask the superintendent for approval. But as long as you meet one of those 4 requirements, then you are qualified to homeschool your children. In my case, I have a college degree, so I qualify. If for some reason my husband was the main homeschool teacher, I don't know if he qualifies or not. I'd have to go back and look at how many actual credits he has in college. But let's say he didn't. I could come in and overlook everything and be the one who says, yes, this is all looking good. And I would be the one who would qualify for to cover our homeschool. So I hope you guys understand that there's ways to work this. If you and your spouse are on the same page and everything's working good, as long as one of you guys have it, then those 45 credits, then you're good. Or you can just take a parent qualifying course. Those are given, again, online. They're really easy to get hooked up with the Washington Homeschool Group. And they happen a few times each year, and then you're qualified. You just take it one time throughout your whole homeschool journey. So once you do that, there's a few other things. You have to do 11 required subjects. Now, you do not need to cover all 11 subjects every day, every week, or even every year. Some of them are geared towards lower grades, so like social studies, and some are meant for upper grades, like history. Occupational ed in the public school would be like meeting with the police officers, going to a fire station, having doctors come in and talk to you about what it's like to be a doctor and share their jobs. PE is not a required subject, though it could fall under health. And also literature is not a required subject. So there are 11 subjects that are required. You can go online, check out which 11 they are. But as long as you cover them within your school year, again, you're good to go. No one is checking in on you if you do these or if you don't do them. But just, maybe if you have like a little notebook that, is your journal for homeschooling or whatever, just make a mental note. You covered all your bases. I use an all-in-one curriculum right now just because that's been easiest for our family. I'm slowly shifting away from doing that, but I just know that I have all my bases covered because I use that all-in-one curriculum. And then I fill in with a few other subjects, but those aren't required. So there's lots of ways to make sure you get that. Again, no one is going to come to you and ask you, did you cover these? Just, keep a mental note if you did or you didn't do them. So then the other thing, like I talked about on the last episode, was your annual testing or assessment. Those are normed, again, towards the springtime. But if you start you open up your books in January and you end in December, that's your school year, then take the test in the fall or take it in the summer or take it whenever, take it in the spring. So then you see what you need to work on for the year. Do it however best fits for your family. Again, this is homeschooling. This is you knowing your child or children, if you have more than one, and seeing what works best for you guys. There's really no set structure to how this is all supposed to look, and everybody's is different. And I've seen it all. I've seen all spectrums of homeschooling, and they're all beautiful, and they all work, and the kids are great and amazing. And so there's not like a one size fits all when it comes to homeschooling. So then the other thing is you need to keep your records. So keep your annual test, keep a copy of your DOI, all that kind of stuff. Now, as your kids get older, and they're starting to get into the high school, potentially wanting to go to college, keep sort of track of like what they're reading, maybe their curriculum, keep a list of like what their curriculum is teaching. That way, if the college, requires that for any reason, you don't have to go through, oh my gosh, he's 18, he's in his senior year. I forgot what he did in his freshman year. You just have that all right there. You need, maybe even if you have like a paper or two, just in case. Most schools don't ask for that in college, but just in case, you never know what they may ask. And that way you just have it all right there available to you. The only other one is that 1,000 hours. I just cannot say this enough. Don't stress about the 1,000 hours. So I think the public school kids do 1,000 hours, and that 1,000 hours includes them everything they do from the time the school bell rings to the time the school bell rings to go home. So you're thinking they're in school about 6 hours a day, and that is lining up to go to recess. That is recess. That is the lunch hour that all counts. It's the lining up to go to art class. It's going to art classes, lining up to leave art class, lining up to leave PE. It's the school assemblies. So if they are allowed to count all those things in their 1,000 hours, we can count all of the stuff that we do with our kids in our 1,000 hours. And so like when I go grocery shopping, I'll have my kids do mental math. How much are these 3 items? We only have $100 today. Keep tally, round, and then keep tally of where we're at in that. Again, PE doesn't count for a credit, but I do all sorts of things when we're out weeding. I count that for, learning how to run a household and manage a household. My kids are baking. Baking is oh my gosh, baking is so amazing. It's home ec, it's math, it's reading. They have to read the recipe, make sure it's right. And then sometimes you get some good food out of it. Other times, not so good. My kids like to get halfway through a recipe and then they get bored especially when I'm making bread and they have to watch the yeast and they're like, Mom, this is so boring. And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm like, you can go clean a bathroom. And they're like, oh, look at the time. I got to go outside and play. That's my kids. But anything that you do counts. So don't stress. Even if you're like, oh my goodness, I'm going to do math every day. Okay, that's still 30 minutes every day, and that counts towards your 1,000 hours. So don't worry about it. Don't keep track of your hours. Please don't do that. Please don't add that stress to your life. Can I just take that from you and that burden and just throw it out the window? And you can just know that just by you being with your kids every day, 24/7, you're the best teacher for them, and you don't need to keep track of your 1,000 hours. And so that's how you get started. That's the big things. If they are in school already, I didn't touch on this. I just going back over my notes. Let's say, you're halfway through the school year and you're like, this is for the birds. I want to bring my kid home. Make sure that you formally withdraw them from the school and then do your DOI. Just make sure you do that. Most of the schools will know to do that. When I pulled mine out halfway through at the parent partnership program, they were really good. They knew exactly what to do. They were like, here, you just have to send us an email saying you're formally withdrawing them on this date. I had to return the curriculum that we were using through the parent partnership program. And then I did a DOI and everything worked out great. There wasn't a ton of pushback, especially here locally in my area. I've heard some districts have some pushback, but again, you have a large homeschool community and you have great people through the Washington Homeschool Organization who will have your back. So if you have any kind of pushback, if anybody's saying, oh, you shouldn't do this, or this isn't right, this isn't legal, talk to somebody, talk to me. I can get you hooked up with the right people. You can just go straight to the Washington Homeschool Organization. They'll get you hooked up with the right people to talk to about your situation. Don't feel like you're doing this alone, because there's a whole network of us out there who want to see you and your family succeed in your homeschooling journey. So as far as curriculum, I'll get into that in a different episode because that's a whole nother beast. But don't feel like you need to go out and buy a bunch of stuff. The longer I've been in here in doing homeschooling, and I know veteran moms will say the same, utilize the libraries, utilize your child's interest and go from there. There are great curriculums out there. I will not knock any curriculum because it's a lot. Most of them are fabulous. There's a lot of them here locally in Washington State. You wouldn't know it, but they're great. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna promote some of them here in the next few weeks because they're amazing and they're awesome and they want to just help you love on your kids. So they're just providing you with these great curriculum options. But don't feel like you have to. Again, there's books you can read that just help you as a parent homeschool your kid. I'll do an episode on that one too. All the homeschooling books I've read over the years that have just made me become more confident in what I'm doing and to let the little things go. I think there's this like meme out there where there's this guy like relaxing, his hands are above his head, and he's like, "Oh, I'll allow it." And I was thinking, 5 years ago, that would not be me. 5 years ago, I'd be like, "Oh no, kids, we're gonna sit here and we're gonna drill math, and we're gonna diagram these things out." And now I'm just like, "Yep, it's good. You're good." And I don't say that nonchalantly to say that we're not doing anything, because my kids are like, "Oh, Mom, we do homeschool all the time." I'm like, "Yeah, well, your teacher's mean." But I do allow a lot more because I've realized that our kids are only young once, and I want to enjoy childhood with them, and that's most important. So I hope I answered all your questions on how to get started. The big things, again, are submitting your DOI, making sure they're between the age of 8 and 18. I know this one question will come up real quick. I'll hit on it. Let's say you have a couple kids, they're over the age of 8. You submit your DOI by September 15th. That's when it's due. But you have a kidlet that's going to turn 8, either in a couple months or halfway through the year. Wait to turn their paperwork in until they turn 8. Don't add them early unless you know you will absolutely forget. But if you're like, "Oh, no, I'll remember," then don't add them later on down the road when they actually formally turn 8. So again, DOI, make sure you as a parent are qualified. There's lots of ways to get that done. Formally withdraw them from the school if they are in the school. And the other two things that are out there that we need to make sure we just mentally make a note of is the 11 subjects and the 1,000 hours. But again, don't stress over those two. Just make sure you get your DOI, formally withdraw, and make sure you're qualified. Oh, and then test. That's the other big one. Make sure you test. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Send me an email, office@teachthechildren.net. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks.